there's a thing that took me kind of a long time to realize, or understand rather, which is not what I expected. I expected it to be easy, clean, nonsensically so. Let's go to Github so I can show you what I actually mean. Let's go to something like Hookliner, one of my projects. When you install a Rust project, sometimes, if it's like super important of a project, super big of a project. Hold up, why is my microphone so low, apparently? Let me remember, I think, yeah, oh my god, I was so low. That's hilarious. How did that happen? I'm sorry for you now having to adjust your volume, probably again. Right, so you usually just cargo, install, blah blah blah, right? And the thing about it is that you compile from source every package that you install with Rust. That's okay, I guess, but kind of annoying, especially for some applications. It takes a long time to compile, and you're sitting around there compiling it for no reason, and you could have just gotten the binary. This sometimes happens actually. It's like Paru Anki, and what we'll see here, most definitely, is Anki bin. Yeah, the 8th one. Boom. Often in the AUR, what you'll see, I'm sorry, you'll see the dash bin thing, which is basically like this, but you don't have to compile it. Well, that's a thing for installing Rust programs as well. You can cargo install, cargo bin install, I'm pretty sure, and then you can cargo bin install a program. And if it meets a certain condition, you can just grab the binary without having to compile the program. But the developer of that program needs to actually make it happen. Am I that loud? Wait, I'm that loud? Why am I that loud? It might be something to do with updating Arch. Why am I so damn loud? Something like this, maybe? Is better? Okay, that's just my volume, right? And this is volume of my mic. Does it even affect? Yeah, it does affect this. Interesting. Incredible noise? Really? Why? What the hell? Huh. I'm not sure what it can do about it. Is it because of this? Is this like massively better now? Or not? Didn't mean to do that? Wait, what the fuck? It was using... I will literally just kill something right now. It was using my fucking laptop's mic for no reason whatsoever. That's hilarious. Damn, I'm so sorry. It was somewhere here. Should be better right now, right? Like, what? It was just like, okay, I'm gonna just disconnect your mic, never tell anything about it. Now I can hear my thoughts. Lol. So, there is a light on my microphone, which is like red, and basically means whether my microphone is working or not. The red light was there, so everything was fine. And this never happens. So I'm super unsure why would it just decide to be like, yep, let's just switch your microphone. Yep, can relate to having voices in my head. Lamau. Well, actually, no. It's kind of the opposite for me. I don't have enough thoughts. My mind is too blank, and I'm trying to practice, like, thinking more. I severely underthink, which used to be, like, the opposite problem. Right, so... cargo bin install, and also we have cargo install. Cargo quick install, which does the same thing. You can then cargo quick install a program by just grabbing its binary. So to accomplish that, let's go to releases. It just grabs the latest release, and the binary is supposed to be here. And I have them magically. Now usually you would have to somehow cross-compile, and at first I thought, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just go to my project, say cargo build release to this target, and then to macOS, and then to Windows. Yeah, fuck no. It required some random bullshit that I had no clue how to get. I'm like, oh well, I guess skill issue on my part, so you'll have to compile from source my programs. But I heard something about GitHub Actions, that they can do stuff. I was like having a very rough idea of what they are. Cargo blazingly fast install. I'm sure that exists. Cargo even more blazingly fast install, unless you type it. Actually, yeah, by the time you type it out, you might have compiled it from source. Well, okay, let's be real here. I would have a fish abbreviation for it anyway. That's why I name my programs with kinda a lot of letters. Because, well, I'm gonna have a fish abbreviation for it anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm hoping it's your internet. Let me get 0. Yep, of course. It says 0 a lot, even if it doesn't mean it. The kbps seems good. So I'm hoping it is, basically. I'm a very hopeless streamer in that sense. So I couldn't, yeah, GitHub Actions. I knew that they existed, and I was like, okay, I'll get to it eventually. Because it felt like it would probably be a pain in the ass. Spoilers, it was. But something like GitHub Actions, what I imagine, basically what I want to do here is once I push a tag, it should create a release, compile it, attach it, boom. So it's a very simple idea that everyone fucking has. I've cargo bin installed a lot of Rust applications, so yeah, this action exists, this is somehow done. So I had this thought in my head that, oh, this is like easy. I just Google it, somebody just has that, like config, which is correct, and I just grab it, and here I am. Oh, it's YouTube being a little, again, lol. Imagine if it actually like blocked messages with swear words. I would literally kill YouTube at that point. My chat is allowed to swear. I'm hoping, right? They can't say dude, man, or sir. I think I forgot to ban the word bro, and I probably should. But everything else they can. Oh my god. What a revel. So I went to the Rust Discord, which is infamously helpful. This is supposed to be sarcasm, but it's actually right. I was like, when I heard that phrase being thrown around that, oh, the Rustlings are so helpful, I was like, yeah, right. They actually are, which surprises me even still. This ass is a human. Sure. Oh my god, water is so good. You know, when you have that brand of water, my water is unbranded, it's just filtered. but it can sometimes be so tasty. I just had a job interview, so I expend a lot of energy. I like heat up, and I talked a lot, which also takes a lot of energy out of me. And also masking. I think I mask on stream too, but quite a lot less. I mean, you can see my mannerisms, the way that I think, the way I'm getting thrown around constantly, so yeah, I mask less. But you're kind of like supposed to mask at a job interview, I feel like. Right, fucking, anyway. I go to the Discord and I ask, yo, does anyone have this GitHub action that compiles on the 3 main OSs and attaches the binaries to the releases? If you're adding GitHub actions, at that point, add a flake, a git pod YAML. What is a flake, and especially what is a git pod YAML? Never heard of them. So I send that message, right? Thinking, oh, this is like obvious. Everyone has it. Everyone of some substance has done it and has this set up already. I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna be like, oh, I have this. Here you go. Boom. Question like answered. In 10 minutes, I release new releases for all of my programs. Boom, you can now install all of them with cargo binstall or cargo quick install. By the way, right now, that is true. You can install everything on in Rust in my GitHub, including the infinite loop program, Lamau and even lol, with cargo binstall, cargo quick install. Wasn't the case, though, at first. Nobody replied. I was like, okay, maybe like the chat is going very fast and nobody noticed it. Like nobody quote unquote good enough where they would have this action. Allows anyone anywhere to quickly put up a WM or VM to edit or test the code with dependencies. Huh. That's cool. All my Rust programs, though, are like, they just depend on Rust and that's it. As far as I know. I could be wrong on this. Right, so message missed. Some time passes, I send the same message because, well, come on, like, it's obvious. It's like a very common problem that everybody has solved, surely. A flake is a different thing, although Gitpod uses Nix. Of course it does. Sast, you're like the treasury of random cool programs. I've discovered so many things thanks to you. It's insane. I might eventually check that out as well. Second time's the charm, right? No, also nobody replied. I'm like, what the hell? I got like really angry at it. Because people have answered more complex and more uncommon questions that I asked in the past. And something that you have, and I'm sure of it, give it to me, they just ignore me. What the fuck? I like legit got angry at it. I got mad. Like, why that but not this? It's like, it's basically like asking, oh, hello, how do I print the contents of a file to std out in a Linux shell? And everybody just ignores you. It's fucking cat. Like, it's literally 4 key presses to answer that question. That's it. And this is a very similar case where I'm fucking sure you have it. It's a similarly easy question to answer, surely. So I was mad, was taking a shower to, if I remember correctly, some aggressive music. By the way, I have shared this track on my Mastodon, which you should follow. It's in the description. But, oh my god, this track is so good. I have to share it again. Listen to it, everyone. It's kind of ridiculous though, in terms of like, I guess, track strength. A flake is a type of Nix file used to declare a project and dependencies and compile options. Fuck, chat isn't big enough. That's what she said. That way anyone can easily run a single command in your terminal to run the program. Cool. A flake Nix file makes a file log file for dependencies like cargo does with cargo log. Huh. Okay. Where were we? Lost myself. Right. Went out of the shower. And I'm like, okay, third time's the charm. Surely. I send the same message again, and a person is like, stop spamming. I got even more mad because, what? Well, fucking answer my question. If you're like half good at making projects, you have that. I was like, for fuck's sake. Because just Googling, like obviously I Googled, no shit. But Googling didn't work. There were things here and there. I also just asked ChatGPT, nothing worked, and I had no fucking clue how these GitHub actions worked. I don't use Mastodon, I only use YouTube, Discord, and barely use Reddit and Matrix. Actually, I recently uninstalled Reddit, finally. It was taking up my time in a way that didn't make me feel good. So I'm hoping it stays that way, and I don't reinstall Reddit very much so. Thank you. So all of my Googling and AI attempts didn't work. We can go to another project which I recently released. Called Colorange. And I mentioned it, but haven't got in depth into it. We're going to, don't worry. You can look at my releases. Oh, well, basically, there was this first release, 100. There was the second release, 101, then 102, and now 103. Starting from 100 to this one, nothing fucking changed. In terms of code, functionality, the program, nothing changed. Not a single thing. That was just me fucking up GitHub actions. And I'll tell you more. I fucked them up like what, 2-3 times? And I was like, I feel like that's not gonna work the next time. So I created a test repository rather, on GitHub called, I think, Testy, as I like to call things. I just like putting IE at the end of things for some reason. I don't know. It feels kind of nice to me. And I think I made like 7 releases trying to make this shit work. And random issues just kept popping up. And I'm like, I have no fucking clue how to make this work. Why doesn't it? But then I was like, oh, fine. I won't have this approach of this should be already done for me immediately and easily. And I decided to actually go and read the contents, like the README of a GitHub action that popped up in search results. Testy, like the singular of testes. Huh, maybe. I haven't thought of that. I just like, it's basically test plus enya, testeño, in Spanish, which I'm sure you know. Well, I guess it's close enough to what you actually know that maybe you do. Something action. This. So this was the GitHub action that I came across, and I'm super unsure why the fuck this is in white mode. So I have to toggle it to dark mode. Now what's funny, once we come back to GitHub, it is also affected. So it kind of fucks up. So I have to bring it back, and it's really like hilarious. Like, why is this white mode? I tried looking around in the settings, and there's kind of no way to make it dark mode, which is very strange. So let me immediately give you the actual link so you can read more about it. I actually read through it, and there is some examples. An archive, blah blah blah. I think I'm using this one. Well, I'm going to give you the config that I have anyway, so there's not really much of a reason to actually ensure I'm showing you the correct example. I think it's this one. Whatever, right? So I look through it. Keep in mind, I've never actually even touched the GitHub action before. I'm like, okay, uses, all of this kind of, like, I have enough general programming experience where I'm not completely lost on it, but I don't have experience with specifically GitHub actions and YAML too. So it's kind of like all new, and I have this expectancy of this should already be working for me. And the reason why I didn't go with this solution to begin with is because this confused me to no end. Required, comma separated list of binary names, non-extension portion of file name to build and upload. What do they mean by that? Do they mean like, oh, the binary names for every OS that you're building? Question mark? Do they mean the path to the binary? Do they mean the name of the project? But like you name the binary for each like version, I guess, for each OS. I was thinking maybe they mean this, like Clorange Windows, Clorange Linux, and Clorange Mac OS. Do they want that? No. A lot of my guesses just didn't work. Turns out all they fucking wanted is just basically the name of my project, which is also the name of the binary that gets compiled. I then realized that by multiple they meant, oh, your project maybe produces multiple binaries, and therefore you can list them all. That did not get to me at first because the default is a single binary, right? So it's saying list of binary names kinda very strongly implies that there should be multiple ones, even though for most projects it's just a single thing. So it got me eternally confused, and I went on different adventures and roads until I came back to this, tried it out on Testy, and figured out that, oh, they just want the name of the project. I'd honestly put the name of the project in binary. See, yeah, I'm glad, because that didn't get to me for some reason. Maybe on another day it would. It's kind of a game of chance sometimes with these things. But yeah, I read into the comments too much. Truthfully. Yeah, actually, if that comment wasn't there, I would figure out this entire problem in maybe 30 minutes. I can speak binary though, it's hard. I don't have a quick joke in response to that, which I usually do, I think. Right, so basically it expects the name of your project. It's literally it. And let's actually cross compare. So we can do a cool transition. I already did that. Okay, yeah, so yeah, that's the entire thing that I had to figure out, turns out. And that's it. And you don't have to install GitHub Actions, actually. You don't. They just are used if you mention them. And basically, I think I just grabbed the example. This shouldn't be here, I think. But then again, everything has worked so far, and how can I be sure that it will continue to work without it? Let's actually read what you can read the example to figure out what it needs. Okay, so it's optional. All right. Huh. I guess I was thinking about maybe making changelog files, but then I realized that whatever, and I kind of didn't finish my config, but it worked. Interesting. Right, let me immediately commit this. Rust CI remove unused changelog. Option? Sure, option, whatever. Let's immediately push it. I would usually not be doing this on stream, but I usually give you 2 links. One to the most recent commit in the future, and one in the current as I'm streaming. So that's what I wanted to push. Changelogs are important if you don't use the commit standard. I'm kind of wobbly about it, so I guess that is important to me. But I'm banking on the fact that all the changes are specified in releases anyway, so like, it's less convenient, I super agree, but I can't really be arsed right now. I probably will in the future though. So yeah, essentially this is the entire config. You just copy the example that they give, and turns out just put the binary name, like the name of your project here, and that's it. Which is like, how, what? Why did I have an issue here? Releases contain a changelog. Yeah, exactly. But a changelog is a single file that contains changes with like all the versions in a single file, and parsing that and then putting that into releases is kind of annoying, because currently my solution is, oh wow, we're in the wrong Clorange. Let's go to Rust Clorange. Currently my solution is having this release notes file, and before I make a release I go release notes, boom, it opens this file, which should be cleared at this point, by the way. And it isn't because truncate, I didn't use truncate correctly. Whatever, it works now. And I type out, oh, this version did this, and also this, blah, 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 blah. And that gets read into the -F flag for both the tag and used to the release. So my explanation gets added onto that. And what you'll have to do is, before the release, grab what's in release notes and correctly format it and put it into a changelog and commit that as well. And I just kind of really don't care about it, not gonna lie. Do the opposite, Lamau, parse the release to make a changelog. Would be funny. Well, I feel like my solution is going to be just grabbing the text in release notes, and when I do Rust release, I specify the version, it would be used as a heading for the changelog, and it kinda, you append the version with a heading symbol for markdown, plus the text and release notes, but instead of on the bottom, you would do that at the top. It's not difficult to do, but I just kinda don't want to. I don't have a good reason for not wanting to, by the way. Just kinda, feels kinda unclean in a way. It feels imperfect. And yeah. So those release notes are read into the releases. So how do you actually like use a GitHub action? First of all, we YR to do gglf this xcp, and I give you that, boom, and same thing, but instead of ggl, we do gllf, boom, boom. If you want perfect, you need to follow commits to, I can't be asked. Like, because imagine I'm doing 60 changes on my Discord color scheme, for example. Well, I guess I follow the standard a bit better now. But doing that super consistently, I don't particularly care. So you grab this config, which here you go, it just works. You push a tag with a version, it makes a release, compiles the binaries, and attaches them to the release. So yeah, the very obvious and simple thing that should have been easy and would have been if I didn't read into that comments too much. How do you actually enable those? Well, you copy, you copy the file into a folder .github. In that folder, you have another folder, workflows, and then you can name it whatever. So let's go look at it. We have .github folder, workflows, boom. We have our CI, which is that, but actually do specify the binary name correctly. Boom. Or Astro Neovim Astro Community. You probably sent a message we didn't send that had more context to this message, I feel like. Yeah, and that's basically it. Once you push it, you don't need to like do some weird magic to it. It just needs to be available on your remote. So once you push your code, even if it like has a lot more stuff aside from the GitHub action, it will still work as you would expect it to. And then it creates the release. At first, it only has these two. And you might get scared like, oh my god, did it not work? Don't worry, you go to GitHub Actions, and it will basically be running here. You can click and anxiously look at it execute, and then get happy because it works. Well, if your code compiles, it will work. On all of my projects, it has worked like fully. If your code doesn't compile, it probably won't work. You can check my dot files, for example. Oh, I see, yeah. You know what else is perfect? Being able to move your mouse with your keyboard. I love this shit so much. Like, I use it a lot more than you would think. A bit less reasonable in streaming because, like, speed of motion is a bit more important. But generally, I'm more so about comfortability. Yeah, and once it's done there, you can go back to releases and you'll see the binaries correctly like applied. And what this means is that now you can cargo bin stall bin chilling, Chlorange, to get chlorange. Now, let's actually get into chlorange. I started trying to figure this shit out on this project because I was like, okay, yeah, it's about time to finally do this, to make my thingies a bit nicer to install. Chlorange is a timer. What? No, I'm lying. I'm literally a liar. Chlorange is a counter that counts. Let me give you the link to it. And that's basically the entire idea. A very simple one, and everything about it is explained in the README. Essentially, it makes otherwise annoying syntax, something like printf, math, and then you cat some random file that you would have to make that would contain a number that you're counting, and then +1, and you print that back into that file. To increment a counter, basically, this is what you would kinda have to do by default, making it very annoying to do. Well, with chlorange, you can just say chlorange, in that case testy, increment, or just I, or if you want to be elaborate, increment. All of those work, and now you can chlorange testy, chlorange testy, show, or look, or I think view also works. So basically you don't have to remember how exactly the command is called. You can just remember one of them and use whichever one you like more. Let's actually look at the help page for it, so we can see what other aliases we have. Yeah, C, oh, we have show, we have C, we have look, view, and just V. So, aside from incrementing, you can also decrement, obviously. You can set to any number that you want, which is an integer. At first, I supported floats, then I noticed that they were being annoying, which is why I removed support for floats. I might re-add it in the future, but they were like annoying. I tried just incrementing a float, and then I see the output being, oh yes, 2.99999999993, and I'm like, fuck this. Not worth it. Considering that this is a counter, float support is kinda unnecessary anyway. Alright, yeah, so you can set it to any number that you want, which is an integer. You can add a number. Increment and decrement are essentially just add one or subtract one. Well, you can add or subtract any number. Reset is just a more clean way to do set 0. It's the exact same thing. And new is a mostly useless subcommand that basically all it does is that it ensures that a counter file exists. And if it doesn't, it gets created. If it does exist, nothing happens. Yeah. So let's say you make a counter, or rather, let's say you chlorange counter increment. It now has 1 inside of it. It starts out at 0. Then you chlorange counter new, nothing happens, so it still has 1. If you used set instead, it would actually get set to whatever number that you specify. So new is basically a way to ensure a file exists without necessarily changing what's inside of it. You could also do that with add 0 or subtract 0. but that is an extra write, I think. Well, not an extra write. It's basically a bit more of a complex thing, to the point of it never mattering whatsoever. But basically what I'm saying is that I figured out that having new as a way to prove something felt quite nice. Yeah. The idea of clorange is that you specify a data directory that will have your counter files. There is a default, so you don't have to specify your data directory, but you can override it. And then you specify a relative path to a counter file relative to the data directory. And then you do actions, like mathematical actions on that counter. It's probably much better explained from the README. So if you're interested in like a nice interface of counting something through your terminal, here you go. Something that I started doing is clorange reboots show apparently 0. Well, I only recently added it. I have this function in fish called uboot, which updates my system, updates Rust, updates all of my Rust binaries, and increments the number of updates. And if I decide to reboot at the same time, it also increments that. Now, true, it won't show the actual number of overall, like, how many reboots I have ever had, because I only recently added it, after all. But it's like a cool, nice number to just look at. In this case, I would be like, okay, how many updates have I done since I made clorange? Oh, 1. Interesting. You know? I also have the program called chore tracker, which is going to be a bit more useful in this situation, because it would show you how many days ago you did something. So chore tracker list, like I changed my razor apparently 3 days ago. I don't believe that. I probably didn't update properly, like the number of that. I changed the coil on my white vape 3 days ago. So this is a more useful number, but you won't know how many you have done overall. You'll just know how many days ago I have done this. So 2 different approaches in basically counting things, clorange and chore tracker, which I plan to rewrite in Rust, by the way, because if we press enter, look closely, that's a pretty fucking big startup time. That's because C#, at least on Linux, needs a bit more help in starting up its environment to actually run the code, even though the code is very easy to compile. My chore tracker shows lazy. Honestly, same. My washing machine broke, and for a good week I couldn't bring myself to wash my clothes and such with my hands. And by the way, Ozzy, I just recently was scrolling through my DMs and I noticed you. I'm like, oh yeah, I remembered you, but couldn't like bring myself to actually text you because, you know, it always feels like I feel guilty. Like this cool person that I loved talking with, and then I suddenly stopped. So, you know, and now to message them would be kinda rude in a way, you know? Because, well, why didn't you do that sooner? If you did, or rather, if you cared about talking with this person, surely you would have messaged them more. So, yeah. So I'm really glad to see you here. Yeah, so C#, at least on Linux, I don't remember having that big of a delay on Windows. Somebody is calling me. I would rather they not.
Probably some bank. Sure, let me answer first. So, as we say in Russia, хуйню какую-то пихают. Yeah, it's basically a bank. 2 years ago, I really wanted a credit card, so I just started calling every bank, begging them to give me a credit card. I eventually got one, and at this point, the bank trusts me, I think, too much money. I'm not sure why they have that much trust in me, but the downside that I now have is that a bunch of bullshit fucking banks and other places, for some odd reason, keep calling me, thinking I'll buy something. And I won't. In Australia, we get begged from the banks to take one. Oh wow. I mean, the thing about it is that I'm 20, and at that point I was 18. Doesn't seem like a good idea to give a credit card to an 18-year-old, right? And they're kind of correct, to be fair. So, yeah, maybe like at an older age when you have a job. I did not have a job at that point, by the way. I just wanted a credit card because I like had some finances thanks to my family, but I didn't have a job. And I was still like, fuck yeah, credit card here. Banks love our bad decisions here. Oh, wow. Yes, I say Lamau out loud and I'm proud of it. Yeah, so C# is not fast enough. Chord Tracker is a very useful idea of a program, but I severely underuse it, and I'm pretty sure it's because of this startup. Which, yeah, in terms of speed, like, it doesn't really matter. In a interactive experience, whatever. It's like 200 milliseconds maybe. More or less, maybe 300 at best. Probably more like between 200 and 300 milliseconds. It's not a big deal. But details like these tick me off a lot, and they stack to the point where eventually I'll just be less and less likely to use the program. So I will rewrite it in Rust, so it is like actually fast. Here it was immediate. It feels like there's some delay, but that is just my shell prompt building rather than the program being slow. Plus I'm streaming. Plus L plus ratio. Plus Clorange. What? Yeah. So Clorange will let you count things. The more useful way to use Clorange is with combination with cron tab, which I don't have apparently. Cron tab lets you do scheduled jobs. So every this period of time, execute this script. And in that script, let's say this script runs every day. And in that script, it has Clorange, updates. Well, it doesn't really make sense for updates, but this is just an example. Reset. So essentially what you're saying is that every day, reset this counter. So now you have some extra context. When you say updates show, you will see, oh, I have done this many updates today in the last 24 hours, because the counters that you would decide would get reset. Probably not daily though. You would probably make, say, in a month, and then you can at any time check updates show, and it would say like, I don't know, like 7 in a month, and you're like, oh huh, I have done 7 updates this month. That's not that many. I should probably update. And then you say chore tracker list, or more specifically, show updates. I don't have updates, so let's say white. Well, I guess it's not that. I forget. Maybe it's look. List. Ah, I did it way smarter. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. You can just say list, but you can specify what to list. And you can specify multiple ones. See, I don't use this actually useful program because it's written in C#. Lmao. Also, what is this? I didn't fucking set a copyright to this. It's free and open source. Do whatever you want with it. What do you mean copyright? There's no copyright. Yeah, and basically I would see, oh, I have done an update this many days ago. Yeah, I should probably update, you know? But I usually update when something isn't working correctly anyway, or before I reboot for something else. So all of this is theory. In theory, all of this is very nice and very useful. In practice, there's not very many things to count, and there's not very many things to keep track of you doing this many days ago. But I like the idea though, and I will make it again. I wanted to name the rewritten in Rust chore tracker into a more interesting name. Chore tracker is a really boring name, and I regret it. It's like super boring, and I wanted to rename it. And cracker felt like the perfect name, because first of all, it's a slur against white people, which I find hilarious in concept, funny in practice. Ah yes, a slur against a majority. Lmao. So it's like, okay, and also sounds like chore tracker, but you kinda like squished it together, which is also like feels kind of cool. But it exists on Crates.io. See, so I can't name it cracker. I don't have a name for it yet. I also came up with a name called Casey, and I'm hoping it's not there. I haven't actually... Fuck, that's annoying. Another program that I wanted to make is also taken in terms of its name. And that's why you can cargo install uklaner, so you can uklaner 3 to get random words which are actually useful for brainstorming to come up with a name. I should probably stop pretty much randomizing my program names. Something like Floral Barrel, what's the music one? Alien Temple. Uklaner is not exactly randomized. It has its whole history. Gaff also has a mnemonic. What else do I have? Octusi also. Yeah, Octusi was randomized. I saw octopus and I'm like, oh, okay, we can go with the fish shell sea theme and add SSY at the end because it's funny. I always need to stop myself from mentioning that program on job interviews because, like, damn. But it's really hard to come up with program names. So the two programs that I want to make right now is, first of all, chore tracker. I need a name for that, and a name for a program that will add a string to a file if that string is not already in that file. That is the overall idea, so that you can basically say program name and then git ignore, this is the file, and the string being something like really, yeah, this basically, to mean add this string on a separate line if that string on a separate line isn't already there. That's the idea of the program that I'm going to make. And I'm looking for names, really. I'm like always stumped at them. So if you have any suggestions in terms of names, I would love to hear them. Yeah, so I showed you how to have the Rust GitHub action, which was less obvious to get than I expected, but now you can very easily just add it to your project to make it quick installable. Here you go. And that's actually all I wanted to talk about, I think. Pretty much. This is a very bad idea. Yeah, thanks a lot